الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر.
Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to today's special episode where we talk about the Eid al Adha. What is Eid al Adha and what are some of the objectives and virtues behind it? And to do that with me is Sheikh Muhammad Muhairi. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا مرحبا.
Jazakallah khair for joining us.
الله يبارك فيك شيخ إسماعيل.
So basically, yes, we are Eid al Adha. Now, everyone goes through the process of celebrating Eid, sometimes not to the best that they should. But we want to kind of discuss, what is, especially Eid al Adha, because you know that Eid al Adha obviously differentiates quite largely from Eid al Fitr.
Yeah.
So a lot of people maybe they don't understand why do we do the sacrifice and what is the virtue and what is the purpose behind it, as well as Eid in general, and that's what we're going to go through today, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. جزاكم الله خير. Before we start, إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستغفره ونستعيذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. The first, or one of the most important points we have to understand and establish before we're talking about Eid is that when will the Eid be? Eid's going to be in the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So it's fundamentally in the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. So all the rulings of the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah will apply to Eid. Many people are not aware of this. When we say the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ, when he talked about the best 10 days, there are no worship is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these 10 days than any other day of the year, including Ramadan. Okay, this means that the 10th, which is the day of Eid, is included in these 10 days. And this will affect many of the things that we'll talk about. For example, the Udhiyah, when we talk about when is the timing of Udhiyah, when can be done, and what is the best day to do it. When we talk about this, subhanAllah, the ruling will be affected based on this principle that we made just now. So talking about, the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, we can't talk about Eid without talking about the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah and how important they are. And as Muslims, we have two main seasons of worship. We have Ramadan and the final 10 nights. And we also have the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. Now, Ramadan and the final 10 nights, one might say, the final 10 nights are important. Well, is it because of the nights themselves or because of Laylat al-Qadr? It's because of Laylat al-Qadr and because the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ used to increase in worship in these 10 nights. Now, in the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, it's equal opportunity in every single day. The Messenger Muhammad ﷺ said, ما من أيام العمل الصالح فيها أحب إلى الله من هذه العشر. Every single day of these 10 days of Dhul Hijjah is an opportunity. So, I don't know why many people are relaxed towards the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah compared to Ramadan and the final 10 nights.
Yeah, I said that in another episode that we had, that we touched upon Arafah and Hajj, and we very briefly touched upon Dhul Hijjah, and I said the same thing. People, maybe including myself, we don't comprehend always. It doesn't register with us. Like, hang on, the 10 best days. So we always make lots of effort in Ramadan, which is great. But then, when it says first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, I think we find it very hard sometimes. Maybe because Ramadan, we're kind of programming ourselves. We've completed 3 weeks or so. So we're already in that kind of mode. So maybe it's easier for us in a way. But a lot of people, they just completely forget about the days of Dhul Hijjah, literally. They don't do anything in it.
Well, Wallahu A'lam, part of this is because, it's everyone's saying, hey, so when's Laylat al-Qadr? Is it 27? So you find people, relaxing most of the final 10 nights, but then you find that Laylat al-Qadr, you won't even think about finding a spot if you go late. But the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, as I mentioned, equal opportunity. And the problem is that for those that take it seriously, they find themselves, alhamdulillah, doing a lot of good deeds, first day to the 9th, Arafah, and then after Arafah, of course, dua and all this. I fasted Arafah, and after breaking for Arafah, khalas, let's relax, hey, it's Eid, let's enjoy it. Even though Eid is part of the 10 days of the Hijjah. And as we're going to be talking about when we talk about the Udhiyah, there's a special worship that is done on that day. And subhanAllah, what the scholars said regarding. So I really, really just can't address enough the importance of making the best of these 10 days. And as I mentioned, it's guaranteed. SubhanAllah, in our worldly life, and you hear this about a lot when you say, Bitcoin is going to increase. So make sure to buy as much as possible. Or if you have some insider information, as they say in movies, that this certain stock will increase in price in the coming weeks, everyone is going to be buying like crazy, even selling their house, selling their belongings, and buying as many shares as possible, knowing that in the coming week, the price will go up real high and they're going to make huge profits. SubhanAllah, the 10 days of the Hajj guaranteed, as the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there's no guesswork, just like in Laylat al-Qadr, there's no guesswork. So whatever you put in, you're dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whatever you give for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be multiplied. That's any act of worship. Any act of worship that you do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is multiplied by 10. That's a given. That's a given. Whether you're sincere, you don't have sincerity, you don't have much truthfulness, by default, any act of worship will be multiplied by 10. And then, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that in the Hadith al-Qudsi, إلى عشرة أضعاف ثم إلى 700 ضعف, to 700 multiples. So that's the next level. And that's, scholars said, like Ibn al-Qayyim said, well, this is based on truthfulness and sincerity. And then, of course, there's another level more than this, which is, as the Hadith mentioned, multiples and multiples. That's why we said the most important factor regarding good deeds in general is sincerity and truthfulness. But when you include this factor with another factor that multiplies your deeds, being in the Ashhur al-Hurum, don't forget, also people neglect this, it's the Ashhur al-Hurum. What is so special about Ashhur al-Hurum? Sins, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. So in these months, al-Hurum, any sin that you do is considered greater. It's going to be much worse. So that's why Allah said, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. So be careful, do not oppress yourselves. So that not only that, we have the 10 days of the Hijjah with worship multiplied or greater. The Messenger ﷺ, okay, let's use the words that the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ used. مَا مِنْ أَيَّامٍ الْعَمَلُ أَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ. So they're more beloved to Allah. If a worship is more beloved to Allah, what does that mean? Allah wants worship more in this time. So that means He'll reward you more for the same worship. You fast in any other day of the year, you get the reward of fasting. You fast in the 10 days of the Hijjah, you get the reward of fasting, and it's going to be enhanced, it's going to be more than what you give in the other days. So we should not neglect this point. And of course, speaking about the 10th itself, there are special worships, there are special things that we should do. And this is why we want to talk about the important worship here. For somebody said, okay, so what is so special about the 10th? You mentioned the 10th, and our talk is going to be about the 10th. So for all of the 9th, from the first day to the 9th, what are some of the worship that people do? Dhikr, Quran, all of these things, but many people will fast. And by the way, there's some misconception here. We have to differentiate between two things. Some people say that, there's no authentic hadith regarding the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ fasting these 9 days. That's not a problem. But many people do not understand the difference between saying that there's no authentic hadith regarding the 9 days, and also between that doesn't mean that fasting should be done. So some scholars say, if you're able to fast the 9 days of the Hijjah. It's a great opportunity. But many people say, okay, but there's nothing authentic. Yeah, there's nothing authentic where the Messenger of Muhammad did or not. But him saying any act of worship, this includes fasting. So now we got this out of the way, and we have established this point. Fasting cannot be done on the 10th by ijma'. The 10th is of the 10 days of the Hijjah. And fasting is not just disliked, it's haram if done on Eid. And the days of Tashriq for those not in Hajj, of course. Not in Hajj, even Eid, it's not allowed to fast. So the 10th, so what's the preferred worship? What is the best worship to be done here? Wallahu alam, that this whole day revolves for people outside Hajj on slaughter, which is udhiyah. Scholars agree that you have an amount to give as sadaqah, let's say 1,700 dirhams, and you are in doubt. So should I give it to one poor person, more than one person? I have this money, I want to give sadaqah. What is the best act of worship can I do with this amount of money? We say go and buy an udhiyah. Go and buy an udhiyah. By agreement of scholars that this worship, buying udhiyah with this money, is more rewarding in the sight of Allah in these days, if it's done on the 10th, than any other monetary worship, than any other worship with your wealth.
Obviously, just for some of the viewers, because I know some viewers, they refer to udhiyah as qurbani, don't they?
Yeah, qurbani. Yeah.
So we're talking about udhiyah, qurbani, the sacrifice done on, the day of Eid al Adha.
Yeah, so this is what we're talking about. And of course, what is special about this, as I mentioned, And many people just think about it as this is just a sheep that I'll buy and I'll give it and I'll just slaughter it. La ya akhi, la, it's much more special than this. You know, have you heard about the matter when the fuqaha say, إِذَا تَعَيَّنَتْ, if the slaughter or the sheep, if the animal, sacrificial animal, is specified by the person who wants to slaughter, then it has special rulings. Have you heard about this? So what they say that if you buy an animal, or if you have, let's say you have 4 or 5 sheep, okay? And you specify a certain sheep. You say, okay, this is going to be as an udhiyah. It's no longer yours now. It's for Allah. Right. And it has special rulings. You're not allowed to give it away to anyone. You're not allowed to change your mind. SubhanAllah, that's why they discuss many matters. They say, okay, if you bought it for the sake of udhiyah, does that mean it's specified? Here we say if you only bought it for the sake of udhiyah and you intended that this is going to be your udhiyah, then yes, it's considered specified and you can no longer change your intention. You cannot say, no, you know what, we'll give it away when your son, wallah, came or graduated, yalla, we'll slaughter the sheep. La, you cannot. This is for Allah.
That someone brought another sheep you think looks a bit nicer, so you say, I'll switch or something.
No. If they said, yeah, some scholars said, look, it's for Allah. So if you want to give something that is better, that is okay. Or if something, subhanAllah, happens to it, you want to exchange it, that is okay. But if there's no other, if you're not going to exchange it, then khalas, this is going to be for Allah. You cannot change your mind regarding this sheep. So the significance of this, that this is for Allah. Allah does not need our worship, ya akhi. Allah does not need this sheep, but it's our intention giving this for Allah. And Allah specified this specific worship at this day. So giving it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, this intention that you're offering something for Allah, scholars paid so much attention to this. I'll tell you some things. For example, many of the viewers might be not aware of this. Let's mention some of the things that affect this matter. You have an amount of money, let's say you have 2,000 dirhams, okay? And the sheep, they range in price. Some of them might be 700, some of them might be 1,000, and some of them might be 1,500, some might be 2,500. We're just talking about sheep now. So is it the same if I slaughter something that's 700 or something that's 1,000 or something that's 2,500? Well, let me tell you this. Is it the same for you if you're going to own one of them? Of course not. The one that's going to be more expensive is going to be more valuable. They say the same thing if you offer it to Allah. If it's more valuable, if it's more expensive, it has more meat, then it's going to be more rewarding than any other. So as a principle, as a rule, we can say if you wanted to do the best udhiyah, try to get something. If you have enough money, طبعا. First of all, what's the ruling of udhiyah? You might hear that there's some khilaf, whether it's preferred or it's an obligation. The Jumhur say it's preferred. And wallahu alam, this is the stronger opinion. We have some scholars like Sheikh Islam bin Taymiyyah and the Hanafi madhab, they said that it's an obligation. Sheikh Islam Taymiyyah said, okay, look, for those who have wealth, extra wealth, it could be an obligation on them, any middle path. But wallahu alam, the stronger opinion is that it's preferred. لمن أراد أن يضحي, the Messenger Muhammad, whoever wanted to do an udhiyah. So it shows that it's preferred. This is the stronger opinion, wallahu alam.
One thing you mentioned as well, which is, you mentioned that the real objective behind it is, that we know that verse, the meaning of which in English is that indeed the blood and the flesh does not reach Allah, rather it's the taqwa in your heart.
Yeah, subhanallah. This is the whole point.
This is the ultimate point.
Yeah, this is the whole point. It's not about the flesh and the blood. It's the taqwa that you have done this for the sake of Allah. Something of value. And not only this, someone might say, no, but it's more benefiting for the poor if I give this money to the poor. This is your opinion. But in Allah, for Allah, we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We worship Allah as He wants to be worshipped, right? It's not just mere opinion. So here, what is better? We see what does Allah want from us. In any other day, someone might say, well, if I give someone sadaqah, it's great. If I give a sadaqah of meat, maybe the sadaqah of money will be better. Here, no. There's a specific worship that Allah wants from us, which is udhiyah. So scholars said if we wanted to maximize on this worship, we say that try to buy everyone, it depends on how much he has, something that is, subhanallah, precious and valuable for the sake of Allah. And this is for Allah. That's why scholars talked about, what if it had some flaws? What if some of the horns, one of the horns there's a broken part here? What if half of it was broken? So they gave rulings regarding everything. And just to summarize everything, they said the more perfect it is, the more reward you get. So complete horns better than part of it broken. If more than half is broken, this is not even allowed. Imagine.
I mean, you can. I guess we could put that back to the famous hadith that Allah likes ihsan in everything.
Exactly. Yes.
We should always do our best in whatever we do.
Yes. Definitely. And this is what they say actually. They say.
And subhanAllah, if you think of the hadith mentions as well, even when it comes to slaughtering.
Yes.
You know, so it's also actually related to that. And we know that, you know, you're not supposed to, when you're slaughtering this animal, you're not supposed to be sharpening a knife, you know, right next to the thing it can see, or slaughtering another one right in front of this one.
Yes.
So
And
even the feelings
of course.
of the animal are taken into consideration here.
Yeah, subhanAllah. And I remember, subhanAllah, reminded me of a story. We were in Medina, slaughterhouse, and we were like, we give them the sheep one day before, so they put it in a place, they give it some grass, some food. So we came next day, and we saw them cramped up. So one of the brothers was like, hey, take care of this is for Allah. So wallahi, and it was a reminder for me. It's like, ya akhi, I bought this for Allah. Yani you should put it, at least give it more food, it's hungry. And I was like, it's going to be slaughtered either way. But that brother looked at it as, this is my investment for Allah. I want to take care of it as much as possible because I'm going to offer it to Allah. Look at how he was looking at it. And also that this animal, taking care of it is also part of abiding by the commands of Islam. Just because you're going to slaughter doesn't mean you don't take care of it. Do you understand? Even the actual slaughter, as you mentioned, sharpening the knife. SubhanAllah, you sharpen the knife. Why? So that it feels as less pain as possible and to make the process fast.
Not just that as well, even in the end of the hadith it mentions that you want to kill it twice.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
So it's like the psychological death before you actually do it. So it's like the torture of the animal, seeing what's going to happen before it happens.
And many people, just because we slaughter this animal, doesn't mean that we're torturing it. Even these things are taken into consideration. By the way, even when, milking an animal, okay, when you want to take milk from the cow, for example, some scholars said even, the nails, should be clipped so that you don't harm this animal. Because there's no need for this harm. You're going to benefit from it. Don't harm it in any way. Overburdening this animal with things. You're not allowed to do this. We have so many hadith regarding this, subhanAllah. We talk about animals, taking care of animals. So going back, subhanAllah, to this animal that we want to offer for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we want to make it as complete as possible. Which brings us to another point here. So if you have enough money, you want to buy the best. طيب, isn't it better to buy a camel or a cow? First of all, is it permissible? Yes, it's permissible if you offer a camel, if you offer a cow. More meat, it's more expensive, but does that mean it's more rewarding? This, interestingly, where did they get this from? Where do we have like camel is better than a cow and cow is better than a sheep? Have you heard anything? Where does this remind you of?
From an Islamic perspective, you mean?
Yeah. Where in what hadith or what thing do we see that? It's as
when
if
you go into the reward of the Friday prayer.
Yeah, exactly. This is what the Jumhur said. The Jumhur, based on this hadith, when you come the first hour, what do you offer? You offer badana, which is a camel. The second hour, you offer a cow. Okay, third hour, you offer a sheep. Fourth hour, you offer a chicken. Fifth hour, you offer an egg. But in agreement of the scholars, chickens and eggs, you can't give as an udhiyah. Okay, so don't go. Some people might listen. Some people say, well, I have this rooster.
Or they're going to just crack open an egg.
or an egg. No, we're talking about, what is, they said it's camels, bahimat al-an'am, camels, cows, and sheep. And regarding, of course, somebody wanted to know, just to mention the rulings real quick. For camels, it's 5 years, at least 5 years. It has to be at least 5 years or older. Cows, it's half of this, so it's 2 years. Sheep, half of this, which is 1 year. And goats is 1 year. And sheep, it's half of 1 year, which is 6 months. So sheep, 6 months, goats, 1 year, cows, at least 2 years, camels, at least 5 years.
So that should be the age of them for slaughtering, not underneath those.
Yeah, for slaughtering, definitely, yeah. So not under these, it's this age or more. So here when we talk about which is better, so we say, well, I have the option of giving buffalo. They have this buffalo bulls and buffalo cows. So should we give this instead of, it's more expensive, it has more meat, and we have big farms of this? Well, the majority said it's in that order. Camels, then cows, then sheep. What's interesting was Imam Malik went against the Jumhur here. He said, wait a second, but the Messenger of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course, Medina, Amal Ahl Medina, the Maliki madhab, they said, but the Messenger of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, okay, if he wanted, he could have slaughtered the camel, he could have slaughtered the cow, but he chose to slaughter a sheep. And two of them actually. One for him and his family, and one for everyone of this ummah who did not give a slaughter.
I'm going to hold you because we need to explain this in detail and it's time for a break.
Okay, inshallah.
So stay tuned, inshallah. Make sure you come back and hear the continuation after the break.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Now, just before the break, maybe you can recap on that one so we can get
Yeah,
there.
subhanallah.
In regards to the Imam Malik was saying that the Prophet ﷺ, he could have slaughtered a camel, they're available, but he chose to do sheep instead.
Yeah, so we said that, subhanallah, the majority, they said based on the hadith that we mentioned regarding Friday prayer, they said what's best is camel, then cows, then sheep. Based on the hadith, offering a camel's first hour, offering a camel, second hour, offering a sheep, offering a cow, third hour, offering a sheep. But Imam Malik said, wait a second, the Messenger of Muhammad ﷺ had the option to do this, but he did not. He slaughtered the sheep. So the Malikis, Imam Malik said it's better to follow what the Messenger of Muhammad ﷺ did here specifically. So slaughtering a sheep here, it's better than slaughtering a camel. But inshallah, if a person, for example, wanted to do a camel, or this is permissible, inshallah, he gets the reward, he follows the opinion of the majority, inshallah, it's khair. And this is a matter of, it's okay, it's friendly khilaf. If you do this or you do this, inshallah, it's all permissible, you get the reward for this. But sometimes removing yourself from khilaf is good. And you have, the messenger did this, so if you have enough money, a good amount of money, and you have an expensive sheep, want to put this money in this, then taking this opinion is closer to the sunnah, wallahu alam, and you get the reward, inshallah. And we want, so this is the best worship that can be done. Remember we talked about the Hijjah. What did we mention? We're going to talk about Udhiyah and Qurbani. Why did we talk about the 10 days of the Hijjah? Because many people do not understand that the 10th is part of the 10 days of the Hijjah, obviously. That's why scholars, they agree that the 10th, doing the slaughter, the Qurbani, on the 10th is more rewarding than doing it in the days of Tashriq. Okay, we have to explain this here. When does the time of Udhiyah start? After Eid prayer. So if a person has more than one masjid, especially some countries, some masjid might start earlier. And I've been in a place where one of the masjids started like 30 minutes before the other masjid. And the people were engaging in takbir and waiting for the imam. So does that mean they can't slaughter? Scholars said as soon as the first masjid finishes, it's time for slaughter. As soon as the first masjid finishes, it's time for slaughter, you can go and slaughter. And we're not waiting for the khutbah, it's the salah. And usually the salah time is after shuruq. So 15 minutes after sunrise, around 10 or 15 minutes after sunrise, this is the time for the prayer. And then the duration of these 2 units that they're going to pray with the imam, okay? If they finish this prayer, then it's the time for the slaughter. But it's very important, brother, because if you do it before that, before prayer, it's considered sadaqah.
Yeah, just a general charity.
Yeah, just lahm, just meat. You're giving meat for charity. It's not even a slaughter. And subhanallah, so this is the best thing to do on the day of Eid. And then the other days of Tashriq, it's permissible. We have the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. So there are 4 days. Day of Eid and 3 days after it. These are called the days of Tashriq, tayyib. And they have special rulings in the sense that fasting for those not in Hajj is prohibited in all of these days. So be careful. Many people mix between the 2 Eids. In Ramadan, it's prohibited to fast on the day of Eid. But for those fasting 6 days of Shawwal, they can fast on the 2nd day of Eid without any issues. Which Eid? Eid al Fitr.
Yeah.
Not Eid al Adha. Eid al Adha is prohibited to fast in the 4 days, the day of Eid and 3 days after it. So many people, subhanAllah, they ask questions, they mix up between the 2 Eids. So the time of slaughter starts from the day of Eid and it ends, and the stronger opinion, it ends at the end of the 13th, which is the day of Eid and 3 days after it, before the Maghrib. This is considered the Udhiyah time. So we have to take care of this point and we have to act upon this. Now, another point here, we want to talk about Udhiyah. Remember, first and foremost, it's a slaughter for Allah. Many people think that, oh, Sheikh, yeah, but how much should I give for the poor? And how much? It's not about this. It's not, low qaddar Allah, it's not, we don't say to people, do this, but qaddar Allah, person slaughtered, and subhanAllah, he waited, and he didn't give anyone any meat. In the opinion of the majority, his slaughter is done, and he got the reward for the Udhiyah. Giving the meat to the poor, that's another matter. It has nothing to do with the Udhiyah itself. The Udhiyah is the slaughter for the sake of Allah, spilling the blood when they were slaughtering this animal, this is the worship, and not giving the meat. And that's why they say divided to 3 parts, acting with the verse فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا وَأَطْعِمُوا الْبَائِسَ الْفَقِيرَ or أَطْعِمُوا الْقَانِعَ وَالْمُعْتَرَ, the 2 verses in Surah Al-Hajj. So here, you eat from it, and you can give the poor. You eat, you can give neighbors, you can give friends. And 3 portions divided. This is all just ijtihadat from the scholars and from our early scholars, and this is all permissible. If you eat all of it, yeah, some scholars might have a problem. If you give all of it to the poor, yeah, no one is going to have any problem with this. And inshallah, it's all khair. It's all khair. But what's important is that the slaughter is done, and this animal has all the conditions sufficed, and it's done in its proper time. This is what's important. And we look at this day, the day of Eid, it's considered Yawm al-Hajj al-Akbar. They say the greater day of Hajj. And subhanAllah, so many worships will be done on that day. Imagine, for those people in Mecca, I remember the first time I went to Hajj, I was like, okay, we put a lot of effort, it's Arafah, do dua and all this. So the next day is Eid. And I woke up, alhamdulillah, I'm happy, we're in Muzdalifah, the brothers were with me, they had really serious faces. I was like, what's wrong? It's like, this is the 10th of the Hijjah. I was like, yeah, it's Eid. He's like, no, he's like, the Prophet of the Lord, no, ya akhi, that's Eid for the people outside Mecca. For us, it's the day of Hajj. This is the day that people talk about when they say, no, Hajj is Hajj. It's today. I was like, subhanAllah, I was shocked. I was like, I thought Arafah was, Al-Hajj Arafah. It's like, no, brother, all the action is today. Remember when we warned you about walking, you have to walk before Hajj? Yeah, this is the day we're talking about. I was like, Ya Allah. And I didn't realize what I have gotten into until we realized, yeah, we did. That day was walking and walking and walking. And we talk about, especially we are the brothers, tried to apply the sunnah. We stayed in Muzdalifah. And after Ishraq, after prayed Fajr, we stood there in Mash'ar al-Haram. And by the way, some people ask, what is the Mash'ar? Mash'ar al-Haram is all of Muzdalifah. طيب اذكروا الله عند المشعر الحرام. Mash'ar al-Haram is all of Muzdalifah. And this is a worship. The Messenger Muhammad actually stayed there engaged in remembrance after staying in Muzdalifah. And by the way, for someone hearing me here, if you're going for Hajj, and it's okay, you took the opinion of the majority, it's okay, your Hajj is valid, no issues. And inshallah, no karaha that you have moved from Muzdalifah after midnight, there's a sunnah that you should be aware of, which is engaging in remembrance of Allah in the night of Muzdalifah, in the midnight before leaving Muzdalifah. That's what Ibn Umar used to do. He used to tell the people with him, engage in dhikr and remembrance. Why? Just like those people who were going to stay in Muzdalifah, as the Messenger Muhammad did, and engaged in dhikr after praying Fajr, and just before sunrise, they left this place. They left Muzdalifah and headed towards Al-Jamarat. So there's a lot of walking, maybe 1 hour, 30 minutes from Muzdalifah all the way to Jamarat, depending on how crowded it's going to be. So in Jamarat, in that day, people will be doing 1 Jamara. It's not the first one, the smaller one. It's not the middle one, not the Sughra, not the Wusta. It's the big one, Jamarat al-Aqaba. So the Messenger Muhammad might say, why don't we do all this 20 today? Ya akhi, we worship Allah based on following His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And by the way, all the fuqaha, all the madhahib, their ijtihad is where? From their minds and from their brains? La ya akhi, their ijtihad is in the text of the Quran and Sunnah. Each one of them wants to follow the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the best of his ability. And their ijtihad, those imams, their ijtihad is to follow the Sunnah. So if you ask Imam Abu Hanif, what is the Sunnah? It's based on his fatwa, whatever he said. Imam Ahmed, same thing. Imam Malik, same thing. And Imam Shafi, same thing. They differed because we humans, subhanAllah, if we put our effort in understanding something, we differ. One might say, yes, but the companions did not differ. Wrong. They did differ a lot. Even at the time of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did the Messenger get angry? Did the Messenger say, you changed the religion? La, la, la. He said, both of you are rewarded. One of them, he told him, asabta sunnah, and the other said, laka ajran. So they're doing it. That's why I have so many matters in Hajj. I'm saying this because I'm going to be responsible for a group of people, and we're going to have all types of opinions that all people say, no, you want to follow the Sunnah. The Sunnah is to go with what the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wants you to do, not what he did. Interesting. How is that possible? The Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was qarin. The Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taken his slaughter animal with him. ساق الهدي. So he alayhi salatu wasalam, after doing tawaf and sa'i, when he came to Mecca, he didn't cut his hair and he didn't remove the ihram. But what did he say to the companions? He said, whoever does tawaf and sa'i, let him remove the ihram. So he wanted them all to be on tamattu'. This is an example of what the Messenger Muhammad did, and he commanded something else. And then he said, if I had the opportunity to go back, I would have not taken my slaughtered animal with me, and I have done exactly what you did. So going back to Jamarat, the day of Eid, you see this on TV, people opening the TVs, like, what are they doing now? You see people and stoning. Yeah, they're going to be doing, this is the first action of the 10th.
When you say that, actually reminds me of some people go like, which I'm sure you're going to touch upon, they go like really over the top and extreme in this regards. And there's some funny videos we see where more than one time we see certain individuals from certain parts of the world, maybe they grab like a really big rock. And I've seen a video of a man, he's running, and as he's running, he's spinning around, like, you know, when they do the Olympic, whatever it's called, shot put. So he's running around and around and around, and he's letting this go, you know. And obviously this is incorrect, and I'm sure you're going to touch upon that now.
Yeah, of course.
And that's why we're discussing these things. What are the real objectives behind it? Is it to get a massive stone because you're actually physically beating the shaitan, or is it, which I'm sure, is there a lesson behind it?
Well, look, first we have to understand our religion is based on what? Based on taslim, based on submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By the way, if you say what Islam is, most important word in defining Islam, it is submission. Al-istislam lillah. So if you have submitted to Allah, you follow whatever Allah commands you to do. The Messenger of Muhammad kissed the black rock, khalas, I kiss it. Not because I glorify it, not because I feel that's going to benefit me. No, I follow the Messenger of Muhammad. And all the madhab, they say the same thing. We have to, as the sunnah is to kiss the black rock. Why? Because the Messenger of Muhammad did this. طيب, stoning. If some people say crazy things like the shaitan is actually there waiting for you to hit it. So subhanallah, that's not what it is. Khalas, the Messenger of Muhammad did the rajm. We do the exact same thing as the Messenger of Muhammad did. If that was the case, then why didn't he do sughra, wusta, kubra? He only did stoning of the last one. Okay, and we follow, subhanallah, what the Messenger of Muhammad did. And regarding these people throwing things, and we get all kind of crazy things. Some people throw it really hard that it hits the pillar and then falls back.
Hits somebody else.
Yeah, it hits somebody else. And I remember, I have trauma from my first Hajj I've done. I remember one brother looking at me saying, lower your head. And I'm looking at his face, like, lower your head. While he's saying this, I actually see a small stone hitting his eye. And I was like, I was shaking. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And it was a difficult time. And people should be, and some people are like, 10 meters away. They just throw the stone. And subhanAllah, it might hit someone's head or someone's face. That's why the sunnah, they say, the scholars, they agree that it should fall into the pool itself.
But then somebody who may be watching may not know, why do we do that anyway? What's the significance behind the stoning?
Yeah, see, this is the thing. Regardless of why is it, it signifies, for example, stoning, for example, the devil or anything like this. It doesn't really matter why, the hikmah of these worships. That's why don't get used to think, okay, why do we do this? Why do we do this certain action? Always train yourself to say submission. Khas, I did what the Messenger Muhammad did. And you know why? Because some people say, why do you do this? I might not agree. It's not about this. And when we ask about the wisdoms, someone might say, the wisdom behind this is this, the wisdom behind this is that. I don't remember, honestly, my opinion, I don't recall any hadith saying what exactly the wisdom here. But what I know is that we submit and we follow what the Messenger of Muhammad done, and there's definitely a wisdom. Just because we don't know the wisdom, sometimes maybe the speaker doesn't know the wisdom, but there's definitely a wisdom, just like worship. Subhanallah, why is Maghrib 3? Subhanallah, between it is 4, before it is 4, and after it is 4. And Maghrib is 3, make it 4. Actually, if you make it 4, it's invalid with all opinions. You don't get a say. You don't get a say. You follow what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to do. Like, what's the wisdom of it being 3? We don't know. There is a wisdom, definitely. We don't know. You get my point? So sometimes the Sharia tells you the wisdom. What's interesting that you mentioned this, when you're looking at all the actions. I remember after Jamarat, was one of the muftis were with us, and he was, subhanAllah, a person that was, Zallah khair, was with me. We're responsible for 500 people, me and him. So we were really exhausted after the day of stoning, day of Hajj. You have no idea. The actions of Hajj is one thing. And brother, the questions of the people, the kinds of questions, and you train them, you tell them, you lecture them, you send voice notes, you send messages, you do everything. And then on the day of Hajj, the actual stoning, when everyone is separated, everyone's like, what do we do today? Like, ya Sheikh, we've been telling you for 2 weeks, for 1 month, we've been telling you what to do. Anyways, and then he explained to them. So I was sitting with my brother, we were both exhausted, and that was a long day. I was telling him, Ya subhanallah, ya for everyone, after Hajj, he's exhausted and he gets sick. He was like, ya he's like, every year I come, I think about this. He's saying, it's like, ya it's like the Hajj, of one of the wisdoms of Hajj, it's like it breaks you down. It literally breaks you down. But there's a wisdom. It breaks you down so that it builds you up differently. You get it? So all these actions, different. There is, even if you go to a 5-star Hajj, and I mean paying huge amounts of money, there is definitely going to be some hardship that is part of the worship itself. You just can't say, I'm going to have, a worrisome or stress-free without any hard work Hajj. It's not Hajj, brother. It's not Hajj. That's why in Hajj specifically, this famous statement that we say, إِنَّمَا أَجْرُكِ عَلَى قَدْرِ نَصَبِكِ. The reward is based on the effort or the workload that you go through. Where did this come from? In Hajj. Aisha radiallahu anha was complaining, and so the messenger, and she got her menses. And for a woman getting her menses, any day is a problem. But in Hajj, Ya Allah. So the messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told her, إِنَّمَا أَجْرُكِ عَلى قَدْرِ نَصَبِكِ. Your reward is based on the hardship that you have endured.
We've got about 4 minutes left, so I want you to end really on giving some people some general advice when it comes to Eid and celebrating Eid.
Yeah, subhanAllah. Yeah, regarding this, now that you have understood what's the importance of this day and why this day is so special, so many worships are done for the people in Hajj there and for the people, subhanAllah, outside Hajj outside Mecca. There is something that people outside, there's a worship that people outside Mecca get to do, that those in Hajj are be preoccupied with other worships, which is what's the maqasid of Hajj, as the maqasid of Eid, as the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِنَّمَا هِيَ أَيَّامُ أَكْلٍ وَشُرْبٍ وَذِكْرٍ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى.
Subhanallah.
Yeah.
So it's not eating and drinking and partying.
Yeah, I remember some brothers, you're invited here, it's like أَيَّامُ أَكْلٍ وَشُرْبٍ. It's like, brother, what's the third part?
Dhikrullah.
Yeah, وَذِكْرٍ.
So basically, you can say indirectly saying to you, eat, drink, and have fun, but within the boundaries.
Of course. La.
As soon as you have dhikrullah at the end, it makes you realize that ultimately there's a boundaries you have to
Sheikh,
stick to.
think about this. On these days, what's the most common dhikr you're going to be hearing? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allah is the greatest, Allah is the greatest. You're going to be engaging in takbir. But after every obligatory prayer, a takbir with every prayer. So these are days of dhikr. Engage in dhikr, ya akhi. It reminds you. Imagine after every prayer, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Allahu Akbar. You hear the Imam, everyone is engaging in takbir. And people outside are engaging in takbir. And subhanAllah, people are eating and drinking. Some of them, it's interesting that you mentioned this. Some of them are saying eat and drink to strengthen yourself for the dhikr.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, so don't neglect, and of course, a part of when I talk about Eid, subhanAllah, you have to understand that it's a time to connect. When you slaughter, what are you going to be doing with this meat? You're having a feast, you're going to be eating, you're going to be giving some meat for the people, صح? So also tells you that, take care of those around you. وَأَطْعِمُوا الْبَائِسَ الْفَقِيرَ. Hey, don't forget the poor person on Eid. Give him some of this meat. And the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ on Eid al Adha, when he started, if he goes to prayer, he doesn't eat anything. In Eid al Fitr, he eats something before going. In Eid al Adha, he doesn't. You know why? Because he's going to come back and eat from his udhiyah. He's going to come back and eat from udhiyah. And from experience, some people might say, it takes long to cook. Well, the liver doesn't. That's why we always do this. We use in Medina. We do the slaughter. We take some of the liver. It's quick to cook. And then we all come together, subhanAllah, and we don't eat anything until we eat some of that liver. So anyways, it's days to connect. Don't neglect anyone. Don't forget anyone. You have family, some of your family who are alone, who have something bad that happened. Include them, in this celebration. Go together into the slaughter. Go together, subhanAllah, eat together. It's all khair, inshallah. So, subhanAllah, what's important is that you live the spirit of Eid, and to connect and to be happy in this day. So some people might have bad things happening to them in Eid. SubhanAllah, divorces happen, you lose someone who is loved to you. These things are normal, but include them in Eid. Visit them, say a kind word to them. Bring together, go to them, visit, bring the families together. And remember, there's days of eating and drinking. Fasting is not allowed. Have a feast, call people in.
It's obviously just to end, I guess, but it's a time as well where like you said, it's time to eat and drink. So you can use this chance to build bridges between you and relatives.
Exactly.
You and your neighbours.
صح.
And come together. They say come together at the dinner table.
Yes, definitely. جزاك الله خير. There's definitely something يعني to do and something يعني to reconnect with the people. As the Messenger Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم يعني أيام أكل وشرب وذكر الله. But ذكر الله doesn't mean that everything goes and you go overboard and committing things that are un-Islamic. جزاك الله خير شيخ.
Well, Jazakallah khair, thank you for sharing that with us, these benefits. And also for the viewers, thank you for the viewers for tuning in. And inshallah, we can take the benefits from this and implement during the time of Eid. And I leave you with the greetings of Islam, which are, of course, the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
الله أكبر الله أكبر